What it do, baby? English Friday. And bon, this podcast for me was very, very, very important. We all say Black Lives Matter. We all fight for Black Lives Matter. Being black is not a movement; it's a lifestyle. You've heard me say that. Now I want to talk about the First Nation people. Our people that we always forget in those kinds of discussions, and that's why I wanted to involve somebody who works for the greater good for the First Nations. Her name is Brigette Lacquette, and she plays for Team Canada. She's an amazing hockey player, an amazing person. First time I met her, so we're in Chicago, and they stayed for one more day. I was going to watch a football game with Jen Lacasse and Emras Mashemayer. So we stayed for one more day. I was going to watch the girls play hockey. PWHP represent, baby. So she was there, and I was like, man, she looked tough. I was like, man, she can whoop my ass like easy. And I knew her because of her name. I'm trying to learn more about women's hockey, but I had never met her. So first time we met, it's at Starbucks in Chicago, and we got the chance to spend the whole day together, the whole five of us, and Clarky was there too. Little Clarky, she's amazing. So she's gonna be on the pod. Clarky needs to be on the podcast. Emily Clark. She's from Wisconsin. She'll tell you 65 times, but she needs to be on the pod sooner than later. But yeah, so that's the first time we met. Spent an amazing day together. We exchanged text messages on Instagram, asking each other how we doing. And then when everything broke out with the Black Lives Matter, I was like, man, we need to talk about our First Nations people, and that's why she's on the pod. Open your eyes, open your heart, listen, and try to learn. I learned so much. She taught me, and she regulated me too. So this is for all of us, and this is needed. And this podcast is important. I ain't plugging nothing. I'm just telling you, this is about First Nation people, what they go through, and let's go listen to my girl Brigette Lacquette. So, on the pod, I'm trying to speak in English. I'm working on my English, but I'm also working on my knowledge. We talked about the LGBTQ community. We talked about racism. We try to promote women's sport. And now I'm trying to know a little bit more about the First Nation, and who better than one of the person I like the most. I won't lie, she scared me at first, but she's so sweet. My girl is playing for Team Canada, Brigette Lacquette. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
First time I saw you, I was like, she can literally kick my ass. Let's not fight with her because I'm losing. We are at Starbucks. She's winning everything. How you doing? How's the how you call that, the COVID's going on in Calgary? How's everything?
Yeah, everything's great. Kind of been liking it. Just kind of doing my own thing, working out my place, and kind of getting used to the new norm, I guess. But gyms are starting to open up here in Calgary, so I'm pretty excited to go in and get some human interaction.
But so we talked with a lot of athletes from everywhere in the world. Did Calgary got hit hard, or is only us in Quebec that we don't care about the COVID, so we go out and everything?
Well, when it was like at the peak of everything, I had a friend that works at one of the biggest hospitals in Calgary, and she had said that there was only like one person in the ICU when all the breakouts happened in the long-term care homes. So yeah, like we had like a lot of breakouts here, but it wasn't as bad as, I guess, Quebec and Ontario.
Yeah, Quebec and Ontario are the Florida of Canada when we talk about the COVID. But you've been training, you've been lifting weights, bags of potatoes. I mean, how can a national athlete train during COVID?
Yeah, well, I guess I was running a lot when it first started happening. Like I had all these plans to do some like different types of training, and then all of a sudden everything closed. So I started running a lot. Like I was running, I think in the 3 months I ran like 320 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was too much. But then I started kind of doing, lifting. I had like dumbbells and stuff, and I bought a bike, and then I bought like a rack, and I went all out. So right now I have like everything that I need, and then I live right along the river here. So there's a path that I can, sometimes I rollerblade, or Clarky actually gave me her old rollerblades, so I've been able to use those, and yeah, and then just running along the path.
Yeah, Clarky is the best. We need Clarky on the podcast. Bruno, we need to make Clarky come on the podcast because everybody talks about Clarky, but we never hear from her. One thing I love about you, well, I love you. You're an amazing person, so I love you. But one thing I love with your Instagram is every time I go on the story, either I watch you training with the beautiful sights of Calgary and everything, but I learn so much about the First Nation people. I don't know if I say that right. If I don't say something right, you let me know, okay? Uh, why are you taking that strong stand to be so much involved in that community and you want to make sure that everybody knows more about that community?
Yeah, I guess I'm very proud of who I am and where I come from. And I guess just, having the platform that I have and I'm fortunate to have. I guess just using my voice to I guess amplify different types of topics, and a lot of people kind of brush the First Nation and the Indigenous education to the side, and I think when the whole like Black Lives Matter movement happened, and people were, I guess I've done I guess I did like kind of a newspaper interview, and they were asking me about it and what I felt about it. And, I was saying like, I heard a lot of I'm glad I live in Canada. It's just because like that kind of stuff doesn't happen up here. What happens in the States, and I was kind of getting sick and tired of that because it was like ignorant to say it, just because that stuff does happen up here. And but with our First Nations and Indigenous people, and I've just kind of been tired of not saying something for so long, and I'm glad that I was able to voice my opinion.
It's crazy how y'all are never in any conversation. When we talk about racism, when we talk about oppression, we never mention the First Nation people. We mention Black people, Arabs, everything. Why do you think we never put y'all in the discussion?
I don't know. I guess there's a lot of different stereotypes that come with, being First Nation, and a lot of. I get sick and tired of hearing about this, but I've heard a lot of, we get free stuff, we get free education, we don't pay taxes, and all those things are false. And a lot of people don't, and a lot of people have the stereotype of being like a drunk, lazy Native person, and that kind of stuff just it ticks me right off, because I guess just from the history, from right from when the Europeans came, we've been oppressed for so long, and taken off our land and put onto these small reserves, and a lot of people don't know about the history, and they don't want to educate themselves, especially at a time like now, where it's so easily accessed to educate yourself. You can just flip on your smartphone and Google something, and it's like different types of articles come up. And, with a lot of in the West, I guess, a lot of people are very ignorant to that kind of, the different treaties, from treaties 1 to 11 here on the west side of the Hudson Bay. And, we're basically, put onto this little tiny piece of land, and, that's where we're supposed to live, and I guess, reserves are not meant for, to make First Nation people successful. They're put on land where it's the crappiest land. A lot of the reserves I've been through, and I've been to a lot of reserves across Canada, and I'm just amazed with how bad it is there. Like it's kind of sad. It's very sad. And it was making me sad when I would go visit the kids and, see the smiles on their faces was awesome. But then seeing where they had to live in these swamps, it's very disappointing. So, it's not meant to make us as First Nations people successful. So, leaving the reserve, that's something that we'd have to do.
As a member of the First Nation community, am I saying it right?
Yep.
Okay. So as a member of the first, you know what? I asked you a question before the pod. I'm going to ask you that question on the pod because you educated me. So I want you to educate the whole part of the people. So I asked you before we started to record, what should I say? First Nation or Indigenous people? And you gave me a great answer and I understood a little bit more. So I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I guess, Indigenous people is just an umbrella term for, non-status, status, Métis and Inuit people. There's on the west side of the Hudson Bay, there's trees from 1 to 11 that go right across the prairies from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And I'm from a reserve in Saskatchewan. So, the First Nation or the Indigenous people, are almost 1 million people combined in this country. So, we make up a lot of the country. And I guess just, it's just very interesting because there's so much history to be learned.
So here in Quebec, they asked me to do a show with a kid. The name of the show, I want to mention the name of the show because I really appreciate what they do for that kid, what they did for that kid. So it's called Méchant Trip. They brought the kid from, I don't remember where he was, but they brought him and his father, and we did some wrestling. We stepped in the ring with a real wrestler, wanted to wrestle. Then we did some flying and stuff. And I wanted to mention the name of the show because they never get clout. But on this pod, we're going to give them clout. Now, I remember how it was as a black kid playing hockey. I need to know how it was to be a First Nation girl playing hockey.
Yeah, I guess, the reason why I started playing hockey is, where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of opportunity. I grew up in a small Métis community about 4 hours north of Winnipeg called Mallard, Manitoba. Mm-hmm. There's one gravel road in to get in, one gravel road to get out. It's about less than 150 people. There's way less than that now that live there. And, there's nothing there, really. There's nothing there, to get jobs or anything. You have to move away. So, growing up there, I've always kind of dreamt of, playing, somewhere big, being on the, I made these goals when I was younger to play on Team Canada, to play in the Olympics, to get a scholarship to the States and play NCAA Division I down there. And, and it was tough to get out of there. My parents, I had an unreal support system, and the reality of that is that, not a lot of First Nations kids have that, because of, I was fortunate enough to have that from my parents and my uncles and aunts, but, going across and sharing my story to all these First Nations across Canada, a lot of the kids don't have that support system. And that's because of, the generational trauma that came with, the residential schools that happened, where they'd pull the kid off the reserve and they put them in these Catholic or these Catholic schools to basically, beat the Indian out of the kid, for lack of a better term, I guess. I don't know. I just, there was a lot of trauma that came with that. And, my grandparents have went through that. I've seen how that kind of trauma, affects my cousins, affects my aunts, and affects their relationships, and affects my grandparents' relationships. Like it's crazy, because that's not only happened to me, that's happened to millions of people across Canada. From residential schools to the 60s scoop, same thing. They would adopt kids from reserves off to, white families, or to Europe, or, all over the world. So, there's a lot of, trauma that comes with that kind of stuff. So, I was fortunate enough to have that support system where my mom, basically, when she had us, because she had us young, my parents got married at 19, 20, and then they had 2021. So they kind of made that decision where, like, you know what, we're not going to, I saw how my parents lived, so I'm not going to raise my kids up to be in that, I guess, that environment. So they did everything they could to get me to where I am today. They made it possible where, we were on welfare when we first started, because, they had us young and, they ended up going back to school and stuff. And my mom ended up going back to school, getting her teaching degree, just so we could have, somewhat of a better life. So, and they knew that I loved hockey, and I loved playing hockey from when I was, 4 or 5 years old. I was begging my dad to put me into the hockey. And, my dad's dad, my chum, that's what we say in Ojibwe, and that's what I am. My chum was like telling me that it was a rough sport, it's a boys' sport, and not a lot of girls played it at that time. So this was back in the 90s, late 90s, and he says, like, it's too rough, like she's gonna get hurt. And I was begging my dad. I was just like, every time I'd ask him to put me into hockey, buy me skates, all this stuff. So he finally did. He cracked. So since then, I kind of put on skates, and I never looked back. And I played boys hockey till I was about 16, 17 years old.
Wow.
And where I grew up, the nearest hockey association was about a 50 minute drive from where I was. So, my dad drove me there twice a week. And then as I started to get better, my sister started playing hockey, and she was a goalie. So, from there, they drove us everywhere. And that's kind of when I started to, I was the only girl on the hockey team. And, I honestly, I didn't really care that I was. Like, I went out there, and I was basically the roughest kid on the ice. And my dad had brought me up to be not to be scared of anybody on the ice, and that's kind of what I did. And I'm mostly scared a lot of the boys that I played with. So that from that point on, I started to get invited to try out for these like big teams, these summer hockey teams. And I must have been about, like, I was young. It was one of the very first summer that I played summer hockey. And I got cut from this Winnipeg team, this team in this city. And then ended up cracking a roster, and I was at a tournament in Winnipeg, and it was getting a little rough, as hockey is usually pretty rough. And I got to the shoving match with this girl in the corner, and we're skating up the ice, and she says, "Get off me, you dirty Indian." And that was kind of something where I didn't know how to react. Like, I was sad, I cried. I'm a very emotional person, so I cried because I'm a crier. And I was mad, I was angry, ashamed, like every emotion. And I came off the ice, and I didn't even want to repeat what she said to me, because I couldn't even believe it. I had tears in my eyes. My dad came over. He asked me what was wrong. I still didn't want to repeat it. And then finally he got it out of me. And I said, and he told me something so simple, but, has stuck with me to this day, which was beat him on the ice. And, beat him on the ice meeting, be the bigger person, be the better person, be so focused on, your own success. So when they say things like that to you, it doesn't matter. So I spent a lot of the time, basically it just would go through one year and go at the other. Sometimes it would get to me, but I was more of a competitive person. So all I wanted to do was win. And that's what I did. It was, basically I've been called every name in the book, been told to go back to my reserve, everything. And, and I didn't let it get to me, because I feel like my goals in the end were more important than what people were saying to me.
That's crazy.
yeah, so from that point on, I started to make these bigger teams where I played on Team Manitoba and I played at nationals with Team Manitoba. I ended up getting invited to try out for U18 Team Canada. Um, and actually, my sister was a goalie, so she played on pretty much every team. She was a year older than me,
Mm-hmm.
so we actually got invited to try out for Team Canada. We both went to the first two camps together, so I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's
Hmm.
cool. But the it's so great the story that you talked about on because on this podcast we having fun. I get drunk almost all the time. We're having fun. We're happy and everything. But those stories or what will make us grow together faster, So I want to thank you for sharing that story with us because I'm telling you, it touched me a lot. And the thing that happened to you, that's some shit that happened to me too when I was playing hockey. So I can relate to that and I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, usually this is where I plug the mugs and everything, but nah, that's not what we're gonna do now. No, we ain't going there. I want to mention you 11 indigenous organization to support. So you got the Native Women's Association of Canada. You got the foundation called Inspire. Well, I'm gonna tell you what they do. I don't give it damn. This podcast is gonna be long. It's important. So they help the women's that faces a lot of challenges in that community, and they help gender and girls and genders diverse, and they help women to get equality in that community. So yeah, I'm trying to do that in English. Bear with me. Inspire. You got Legacy of Hope Foundation, Canadian Roots Exchange, Inuit Tapirit Kana Tami. So know them. I want y'all to give money to at least one of them. Reconciliation Canada, Native Canadian Center of Toronto, the Art for Aid Project. Love this one. True North Aid, Good Downey and Chani Wenjack Fund. Know them all. And First Nation Child and Family Caring Society. This is the one that we chose. So this is the one we're going to give money. So Sans Restriction will give money to First Nation Child and Family Caring Society. So I encourage you to do the same. And let's go back to Bridge. Okay, so now I want to know. Because I remember the first time I saw you, it was at the Starbucks. So I'm waiting at the Starbucks. And then Jen is like, well, that's Bridge. And I'm like, man, I know that girl. And she's like, she's from the national team. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, yeah, I remember. But I didn't remember from that moment. I remember you from the Inferno of Calgary. When you played for that team, you would bully les Canadiens on the ice. Can you explain to us what is your style of play as a defenseman? You would bully us.
I guess I don't know. Like I've been brought up. My dad coached me most of my life, and he always told me not to be scared of anyone. And he'd always say, like, the only person that you should be scared of in the rink is me. So, I was pretty much, growing up, I would, slash everyone, and just, if someone touched the goalie, I'd fight them, like things like that. It went a little overboard at times, but I've just kind of been a very like physical person, on the ice, and just I guess I wouldn't back down from anything. So with that, and I guess I'm kind of more of an offensive defenseman. I love having the puck, and I love passing the puck, and definitely shooting the puck. So I guess I would describe myself as an offensive defenseman.
And I mean, if hitting was allowed, you'd be the league leader. How was it to, so for 3 years you play for Calgary, and then you meet them with Team Canada. You play with them with Team Canada, but for 3 years you play with Calgary, and in your game I can see that even though you know them, they ain't your friends. But then this year, everybody's friend and everybody's happy with each other because they want to build the league. How was it to make that change in your game?
Yeah, I guess last year was pretty tough. Just because, I know Montreal was good. They had a lot of games and stuff, and they were kind of more structured. But in Calgary, like, we were not as organized, I guess. We didn't really have a lot of games. And we played with like the national team when we came to Montreal to play exhibition games and stuff, which was fun. But, it was tough to kind of get into a routine, I guess. But when we went to these showcases, I had so much fun. I went to the Philadelphia one and Chicago and Arizona, and those are like, few of the best places. And came to Montreal for a showcase. So it was just, it was so much fun, playing with different players and people that you wouldn't usually play against or play with. We came to the Montreal showcase and we played with, some of the US players. And I thought that was pretty cool, kind of, playing with players that I've never played with before. So, it was just awesome. And, we still have a ways to go, but I'm very, I'm looking forward to the future.
I mean, it was fun because you see them play and you're like, okay, she's doing this like that. So next time I see her on the ice, I know. Or it was fun to, for a full year, not a full year because you play in the Rivalry series and everything. I never said the word correctly, but you play in the thing that the US and Canada is playing against. But how was it? Are you trying to find some tips from them or?
Yeah, no, I guess like, you're always playing against them and, kind of, I've been playing against a lot of these girls for a few years now. So you kind of get I guess just, they just like, I guess it's just like mixing it up a bit. I know with, we have a couple of Americans playing in our hub and, it's nice to, I kind of get to know them off the ice, I guess too, and away from the rink and rather than, always like hating the opponent. And, you get to know, I guess you get to see, what kind of skills that they bring to the table. And, it's definitely very interesting to, I guess, watch other players play.
No, me, I hate them all. Except Hills because she plays in Montreal, but the rest, none of them, except Kendall Coyne, she came on the podcast, but except her too. How can you play with, like, sometimes I would see Hillary face to face and I'd be mad because I'm like, why are you not Canadian? I wouldn't have to step on my ego and everything because it's so crazy how these games are intense. I think it's the best rivalry. I'll say it again, rivalry in all sports. Are you agreeing with me or you have another rivalry that you're like, yeah, that may be better?
No, I definitely think it is. You think back from, when I was younger, I'd be watching the national teams play and you see how, heated it gets. And, sometimes there's fights and stuff and sometimes it's just like big hits. And but I feel like now it's beginning to become like more skill based rather than, that gritty type of play. So, you don't really see it as much now, but I remember back in like 2014 when there was like a line brawl between the two countries. And even in the rivalry series back in 2019, like it was pretty intense. Just because our style of play is a little more grittier than the U.S.'s style of play. So, it's actually so much fun to play that kind of hockey.
Yeah, I remember that game. I saw when they pushed Eldridge, I think her name is, and then Melo stepped up and wanted to fight. I'm like, yeah, Melo, tell them who you are. But if you could pick any player from the US to give her a passport so we can bring them to Team Canada, who would you pick?
No, I don't think I can pick one.
You're the first person who didn't pick nobody. I asked that to all the girls that plays in the team. You're a real one. A lot of girls said Decker though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of girls said Decker, and I'm like, yeah, but I
Huh.
mean, I don't know.
Well, do they really? Yeah, I don't know. I think we're fine the way with the players that we have, so I wouldn't trade anyone.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Who in the team is in the national team was a little bit underrated. Someone that we always talk about Pooh, we always talk about Melo, we always talk about Nursey, Spooner, but who's underrated that we need to talk more?
Who's a little underrated? Sheesh. Honestly, I think Clarkie is because
Yeah,
she plays. I've watched her play. She can play pretty much on any line and fit right in. And her style of play is awesome. And she's unreal at faceoff. So a lot of people, I guess, a lot of people don't give her a lot of credit. I guess she's so good and
yeah,
she's so fast and. I think she's just a great player. You see her playing with. There was one series where I was watching, and she was playing with Pooh. She was playing on the first line with like Pooh and
yeah.
Malone, maybe, or Pooh and someone else. And she just fit right in, and it was one of my favorites. So, I love to watch that.
First time I saw Clarkie with Pooh, I said, they put the who with Pooh? And I remember I watching TV and I'm like, who's that 26 girl? And I didn't know her. I don't watch the University of Wisconsin. So then I saw the first shifts or the first 2-3 shifts and I'm like, oh, we got a good one for a long time. So I'm glad that you said Clarkie. So I often ask that question to the hockey players. So I'm going to ask it to you. If you had a pickup game and the next day you die, so it's your last pickup game. You need a goalie, you need another defenseman to play with you, and 3 forwards. Who you picking?
Shoot.
I know,
All players in the world.
Anybody in the world. It can be players that you played with when you were kids. It can be like Pooh said Serena Williams. Pooh wanted to lose that game. So she chose Serena Williams. So who would you pick?
Okay, well, my goalie would be Carey Price.
Oh, yeah.
Great goalie.
Oh, my God. I'm so surprised you say, why Carey?
Because I've always been a big fan of Carey Price.
It's crazy how everybody else in Canada loves Carey, but here we disrespect the man like he's nobody. We need to take more of what you just said. He's a great goalie. You're right.
He is. I think people in Montreal are very hard on their sports team. So
yeah, come play for us though.
He's so good. I don't know why everyone hates him. So I'd say Carey Price. I need 3 forwards.
Yeah. 3 forwards and 1 defenseman to play with you.
Okay, so I'd choose Poulin.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to win?
Yeah, I want to win, obviously. It's my last game. I'd pick Clarkie.
Yeah.
And who's one person that would go well on that line? I pick Sarah Nurse as well.
Yeah, she's that good.
Yeah, she's unreal. And for a deep partner, I'd pick Nicholas Lidstrom.
Oh, you're the second person that picked Lidstrom. Why you picked Lidstrom?
This steady guy back there. I think he was an unreal defenseman, and he was my favorite defenseman growing up.
Okay. So you got Pooh, you got Clarkie, you got Nursey, and then you got Lidstrom, and then Carey. That's one of the good starting lineup that we've seen on this podcast.
Thank you.
So somebody said Denzel Washington. he wanted to lose. Okay, so we play a little game on this pod with every hockey player. So I name you a player and you tell me a little story about that person. Something we don't necessarily know about that person. So we have a musical team. And we're off. We play. So, first person I want you to talk to me about is Lauriane Rougeau. She supported the podcast. She bought mugs. She sent money to this. She's listening. What would you say to Lauriane Rougeau? She's listening right now.
What would I say to Raj? You want me to tell you a story about Raj?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so Olympic year. We had like these secret Santas, and everyone, obviously, I didn't know who I was. I thought I knew, but I had no idea that it was Raj. And I was getting like my favorite chocolate and stuff like that in my stall, and I didn't think it would have been her, because she was sitting right beside me in the dressing room. I honestly had no idea that it was her. And I couldn't believe it until we did our little surprise gifts and stuff like that. And it was her the whole time. And I was like, what? I felt like such an idiot because I was asking her who my Secret Santa was. And she'd be like, I don't know, whatever. And I felt like such an idiot.
That's so great. So you got caught by Raj.
Yeah, so sneaky.
Okay, so one girl that we here on the podcast never talk about her, so it's gonna be the first time we mention her on the podcast. Renata Fast. Tell me something about her, because we need to like her more. She looks like a nice person. I don't know.
You should have her on the podcast.
I should. I think I should.
Yeah. Yeah, Renata. I think she's just a great person, and I guess I didn't really know anything about her until we played on the got centralized together. So I thought she was awesome, and such an amazing skater. I've never seen anyone skate like her. And
it's so pure.
She floats. She literally floats on the ice. So yeah, a little jealous of her because she's an unreal skater, unreal person, and yeah, she's a great hockey player.
Okay, so I will tell you a secret. Never said that to anybody. Never mentioned that. Ever mentioned that in my life. But when I was younger, that girl it wasn't Pooh, my favorite player. It wasn't Pooh. My favorite player, women's hockey player, was Megan Augusta. Tell me something about Megan.
Megan's also fast. Yeah, she's good. Yeah, I guess I didn't really know a lot about her until I think it was a boot camp, centralization year, and we were all I was in a house with there was Zabby, Pooh, Gus, Dabian, Renata, Stacy, I think.
What do you mean? All that in one house?
Yeah, we had a huge house. And I think Potty. It was I think that's who it was. And yeah, that's kind of when I got to know Gus, and yeah, she's one of a kind. Her stories that she has from, when she, from work and stuff, because she's a police officer in Vancouver. So they're outrageous. So definitely she's very funny.
But let's piggyback in the house thing that y'all had. Okay, so y'all are 7 girls in one house. Need to know who takes longer in the shower. Who takes all that hot water?
Honestly, I have no idea. That was 3 years ago now. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though, because we had a really nice house.
Okay, so Melody Daou, tell me something about my little sweetheart Melody Daou, my little girl.
Well, one of my favorites. She's, I don't know, I don't really know what to say about her. She's an awesome person, and she's probably nice. She's probably one of the most deceptive players that I've ever seen, and just great hands.
So I think So I've been following women's hockey more in depth for the past 3 years. Like I didn't. It's not that I didn't care. I didn't know about women's hockey. I had their own league and everything. And then I had Anne-Sophie Betté on my TV show. And then I'm like, okay, there's a league. I need to know more. I think but the first girl like I got closer was Melody. Melody, I think she had the biggest evolution from from her first Olympic to her second. Would you agree with me? Because it's night and day, the player that she is.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really watch I honestly don't remember anything from the first Olympics.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, no, she's definitely become she's always been a great player. Like I played with her in U18s. But now she's just, she just runs the ice. So
she's that good. Okay, so you got two more players left. Okay, so we always talk about her on the podcast, and I mentioned she cannot come on the pod because I'm scared of her. She's not allowed on my podcast because when it will happen, I don't know what will happen because I'm that scared of her. Blair Turnbull.
She's awesome. I don't know why you're scared of her.
She's a shark. She's the shark.
The shark. Yeah, Blair is good. I'm currently actually she's been in the Okanagan for a few months. So I've been watering her plants every week.
Don't let them die because she's gonna be mad.
Oh, I thought they were gonna die, honestly. And there was one day where I was just like, okay, they're starting to look kind of sad.
This is so great. Okay, so the
water revived them, so I think we're good.
Okay, so the last player. So usually the last player I picked is Pooh. Okay, so usually I go Pooh. But we always talk about Pooh on this podcast, and she's so great. And people can go back to that episode we did with Pooh, one of my favorite that I've ever done. Never seen Pooh like that, and I love that girl so much. Now, the girl I want you to talk about is Jen Lacquette. Tell me something about Jen.
Also a great person. We love her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's awesome. I'm trying to think of
the stretching.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I guess remember when we were in Chicago, how fun was that when we were with them?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
So great. She's awesome. I was in a wedding with her actually last summer. And we were I had asked them if I could stay in their hotel room too because I was there for a night. So yeah, it was awesome. She's a great time.
Well, Bridge, I want to thank you for the time that you gave me. I want to thank you for the knowledge and the sharing that you did, the laughs and everything. You know how much I love and care about you. I want you to be safe. I have a great next season. And I'm telling you, if you want to play for the Montreal Hubs, we can make that happen. I'm telling you, we can make that happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gav.
Yeah. If my mind was a school bag right now, my mind is full of paper, binders, duotang. That bag is full of knowledge right now because, man, first of all, she's great. She's funny. Her laugh is amazing. But now spend a quality time with Bridge. I hope we get her back on the pod. I hope we get her with Clarky. So we got to do one with Clarky, and then we do Clarky and Bridge. So thank you so much for listening to this important pod. At least for me, it was very important to do. I'm pretty proud to say we did it. And let's go, baby. Next week, we got something special for y'all. Be ready, because Sans Restriction is le feu roulant that keeps sound going.